Hello there, fellow stranger. I go by many names, but you can call me Mac, or Dale, or simply just MacDale. And today's trash is Jack Stone, a 22-minute long folly that's as hideous as it is devoid of any real qualities. It is a stunning beacon of tedium, monotony, and sheer mediocrity. Now, I know it seems harsh, right out the gate, just insult this film, but believe me, it is so mind-meltingly dull that it could be used as a form of sensory deprivation. However, before I explain myself, first, let's lay down some context.
And then he turned into a submarine. So I became a submarine-eating kipper. I said a kipper, not a slipper.
Ah, Lego. Name a toy company more ubiquitous with joy, childhood nostalgia, and of course, extreme wealth. Currently, as I'm making this video, Lego is the largest toy company in the world, beating out both Hasbro and Mattel in terms of sales. And not only that, the Lego Group has generated a whopping $9.8 billion in 2023 alone. And to go one step further, according to Statistica, the Lego Group is approximately valued at $13 billion. So yeah, you can make the argument that the Lego Group is doing pretty well for itself. Though that wasn't always the case. There was a period of time when Lego was not the cultural juggernaut that we all know and love. In fact, quite the contrary. From the late 90s to the early 2000s, Lego was in an unprofitable position due to a series of bad financial decisions that can easily be summed up as Lego sticking their thumbs in pies they probably shouldn't have. Yeah, sure, that's the metaphor we're gonna go with. Lego, for a lack of a better term, was falling apart. And if they failed to rebuild in time, they probably would have ended up as a huge pile of bricks. Lego, to combat this financial situation, underwent an experimental phase, creating a plethora of wacky Lego themes of varying quality, ranging from the shockingly dreadful to the surprisingly ambitious. One such wacky theme is today's subject, Jack Stone. Jack Stone was a short-lived theme that was specifically designed for the 4-year-old demographic. To coincide with the, at the time, upcoming release, a free promotional copy of Jack Stone was given out to LEGO magazine subscribers. Outside of this little tidbit, there's pretty much no information regarding this short. Not only that, the cast list is almost comprised of absolute nobodies, i.e., Jack Stone is the only credit to most of these people's IMDb pages, with the only real exceptions being Bob Thompson, an individual who played a decent role in the development of Bionicle, and the director, who only has one other credit, that being a video game made by Data Design Interactive? Yeah, just knowing the director worked with a gaming studio notorious for making low-budget shovelware explains a lot about this feature. The big question is, how much is this going to suck? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's save the city with our can-do, will-do attitude, as it's time to get Jack Stoned? Hey!
Every day.
Hey, check these disclaimers out. This is a fictional work. Any similarities to an actual person or persons, either real or imaginary, is completely unintended and coincidental. I mean, no kidding? Seriously, what is this disclaimer trying to get at exactly? None of the characters are based on any real people whatsoever. Last time I checked, there is no Lego parody of Barbra Streisand in this short. I mean, what a stupid disclaimer. I'm almost tempted to see what the other one says. No, Tell you what, let's take a gander at it, shall we? Public showings or broadcasting of this LEGO Company videogram is prohibited. Hey, dear viewer, could you do me a solid and, pretend that you didn't saw this? That would be ace. Thank you! The film properly begins with a news station airing a special with a news anchor named Bob Stewart. And already we get to see a reporter interviewing a crowd about a certain individual.
He saved my little Daisy from a flood! I love Jack Stone! So, there you have it, folks. There's a name on everyone's lips, and the name is Jack Stone.
If I didn't know any better, I feel like LEGO is trying to push an agenda onto me. But what are they trying to push exactly? Bob is here to conduct his own interviews with some public service workers, and the first one to share their personal anecdote is none other than the Chief of Rescue.
Well, everyone has at least one Jack Stone story. Yeah, that's right, Bob.
You know what, I may as well bring this up now, but for some reason, there are multiple instances where this film has a sort of dry wit to it, I suppose.
Problem. Inspiration. Action. Right on the money.
I guess you could say he got those guys hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and what?
How about that, Ron? Taking the building to the water. That has to be one of the most unusual ideas.
You know what they say, Bob. If you can't take the water to the fire...
Take the, fire to water...
Fire to the water, Bob.
I find this to be a really odd choice, considering the film's primary audience is going to be really young children. Yeah, sure, kids of today don't really have the same attention span as kids of yesteryear, but come on, man. Back to the story. The Chief of Rescue tells us a story where, at a parade consisting only of giant duck floats and an army of clones, a truck driver hauling a bunch of pipes swerves out the way to avoid hitting this hideously modeled duck. However, this selfless action results in him knocking down the water reservoir, and not only flooding the parade, but the city as a whole. The rescue team was dispatched immediately. Unfortunately, they are far from competent.
Oh, no!
Yeah, I don't think it works like that, buddy. I think it goes something to the effect of... If the helicopters couldn't do it, then surely the rescue boat must do the trick. Now, before we go any further, I would like to overly analyze the animation on this scene. There's a very good reason as to why. Please bear with me on this. We can see the vessel going through the city, and right off the bat, we can already see the out of bounds area. We can see the skybox through the ground. Gaze in awe as you can witness the sky both above and below us. In the next shot, the boat cannot go any further as there is a truck obstructing its path. Not sure why the captain can't just, you know, take another route, but I made a personal vow to not talk about any of the plot holes in this film, as to avoid the video having a runtime comparable to a feature-length film. So, for the sake of brevity, let's take a look at this era and move on to the next one. How though? Before we have any time to dwell on it, we are on to the final era, ending the cavalcade of blunders with an up-close view of our little sailor. And either this guy has a really bad case of lockjaw, or he has mastered the art of telepathy.
It's pretty tough down there, but then we remembered. When in doubt, shout!
Good gravy. Within a quarter of a minute, we just saw some of the most blatant animation hiccups you can possibly imagine. Good lord. I am seriously wondering what the budget was for this, if quality control was cut from the equation. I mean, yikes. Now it may look like it's all doom and gloom, but fear not. Just by uttering the phrase, the man himself comes to the rescue. Our hero, Jack Stone. Being the divine savior and all that, he comes up with the brilliant idea to destroy tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment to create a heliboat.
Heliboat?
Okay. With this newly built heliboat, Jack manages to save a handful of civilians. Even though the rescue chief said that he saves everyone, which is a complete lie, cause ain't no way that's every single person, which means two things. Either everyone drowned, or they were all killed by that frickin' skinwalker over there. Once the interview is over, Rob Serling over here gets to talk about Jack Stone and his inspirations. You see, the reason why he is so powerful is because he can use inspiration as a way to make things. And this segment, at the very end of every interview, highlights what he was inspired by. I like these segments a lot, due to the fact the intended audience of 4-year-olds can actually learn something from it. Teaching kids they can always draw inspiration from their surroundings is a pretty nice message to have in your kids' film. Not exactly deep, but pretty good. And honestly, the only good scenes in the entire short. So enjoy them while you can, cause we are on to the second interview. Yeah, about that. It seems past the 5-minute mark, the film starts to get really monotonous. Even though the next set of stories deal with such heavy hitters as escaped convicts wreaking havoc, people trapped in collapsing buildings, and a man falling into a river in Lego City, Jack Stone has the miraculous ability to turn any of these potentially interesting ideas and executes them in the most dull, boring, tedious way you can possibly imagine. It has the ability to turn potential into squander. As a result, the film is not really fun to go through, chronologically speaking. All you really need to know is Jack Stone overcomes every single obstacle in his path, blah blah blah, the mayor gives him the key to the city, the end. So, to switch gears, let's talk about the film as a whole. This film can easily be described as unfinished. It looks more like a rough cut put together to show the development team how the film is going, rather than a complete film. Everything about this film is so bad, it's like a comedy of errors, but you take out comedy and replace it with more errors, so you're left with an error of errors. To show you what I mean, I have compiled a little list of some of my favourite terrible moments in this film. So please, by all means, enjoy.
Oh no! Watch out for the... Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, bridge! Oh, no!
When in doubt, shout.
Can do.
Will do!
What do you think he's doing?
Activated pogo stick.
It's a fish rocket.
Boomerang thing that's gonna
A cow tipper.
down another.
Now, as funny as it is to gawk and laugh at all these silly little goofs, gaffes, errors, boners, and other such words, are ultimately inconsequential to the real problems this film has. Its awfully limiting framing device, which does not allow it to have any form of nuance or depth, turning the story into a series of anecdotes with no real conflict or resolution, and turning the characters into one-note exposition machines. The animation can be charitably described as
It's Jack Stone!
awful. The pacing is beyond sluggish. It feels like they only had 5 minutes worth of material and stretched it all the way to 20. And all of this culminates to form Jack Stone, a 22-minute long folly that's as hideous as it is devoid of any real qualities. As I demonstrated throughout the entire video, Jack Stone is a short film with next to no redeeming features or anything approaching a decent aspect. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably gonna say something to the effect of,
Mac, this is a baby film, why are you taking it so seriously?
To that, I promptly rebuttal with, shut your cake hole, dork! This is my video, and I'll do as I please, goddammit. Oh, and you may be right. Truth be told, it's not the worst thing ever, not by a country mile at least, but at the same time, it's pretty damn bad. From the big things, such as having no real plot, the characters being one-dimensional at best. As a piece for children's entertainment, it's pretty bad in terms of having no real value and would probably bore the kids. To the more subtle things like all the animation errors and audio bugs, gives off the impression that nobody cared during the making of this production. I mean, it makes absolute sense considering the director worked with Data Design Interactive. However, that's not the only connection to this monstrosity. The studio that was behind it, Artworld Studio, actually have direct ties to DDI. Even though all information and records revolving around this company have been lost to the sands of time, I still managed to track down the front page of their website, and right at the very bottom of the front page, as clear as day, they state they are the sister company of DDI. So yeah, if it wasn't obvious, this film was made as a cheap, low-effort cash grab, pumped out by a no-name studio directly tied with one of the worst gaming atrocities, just short of the video game crash and Gamergate. Well, I guess the saying is true. Reality is often crazier than fiction, or wherever that saying goes. And as for Jack Stone, the LEGO theme, and the LEGO Group as a company, the former only lasted for a couple years before being relegated into LEGO's dustbin of LEGO themes and ideas, amongst the same ranks as drone races, little robots, clickets, that one helicopter that made them lose millions, that LEGO MMO game. I can go on, you get the point. And as for LEGO, the company, thankfully they saw the error of their ways, and after some mass restructuring, including the then CEO stepping down, as well as lines like Star Wars and especially Bionicle doing gangbusters, these changes and support were enough for the company to crawl out the financial hole they were once stuck in, slowly but surely digging themselves out of the financial gorge they were once stuck in. And not only becoming the industry titan we all know and love, but also a massive phenomena that kids, adults, and kidults alike can't stop obsessing over. Now, to tie everything back into the short we were talking about, if you stumble upon anyone with any interest in looking into it, please, by all means, use this quote to persuade them to not watch this film. Jack Stone is a low-effort cash grab cobbled together in a couple weeks, shat out from LEGO's rotten sphincter, given away as a freebie to magazine members just to entice a few subscribers into buying their subpar trash. Avoid it at all costs. If that was a little too graphic for your fancy, don't worry, here's a much less vulgar quote. This short perfectly encapsulates everything about the toys. By that, it's ugly, too simplified, boring, and all around a black hole of charm.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!